Hello, welcome to Vast. This video is going to be an overview of the Vast marketplace and go over some of the basics of setting up an account, buying some credits, configuring your machine, and renting your first GPU. So let's jump right in. You can click on the console button in the upper right or the pricing button to jump into the cloud.vast.ai marketplace. And this is going to list out all the GPUs that are available for rent. And because you're not logged in, you're not going to see your instance configuration, but that's what's in the upper left. And then we have filters all around. So to start, you're going to want to sign in and create an account. Once you've done that, then you can jump into the billing section and you're going to want to add a credit card to add credits. The billing section is where you can see your bill. You can see the current hourly burn rate that you have and the daily burn rate that you have. So once you have a couple of instances, you can actually see how much you're getting charged and how fast your credits are going down. So Vast works in a credit system where you purchase credits up front that stay in your account as a balance, and then you spend those credits down as you rent GPUs on the platform. So to add credit, you just click the Add Credit button. You can purchase credits via Stripe. This is the easiest method. You can just add a credit card, and the Stripe, all this information is then stored with Stripe. It's never stored with Vast, and you can then purchase credits with that credit card. You can also set a purchase threshold so that when your account balance starts to get low, it automatically charges the credit card to top up. That's important because you want to make sure if you have instances running and you want them to continue running for multiple days or multiple weeks, and your balance starts to get low, you want the system to be able to auto top up to keep your instances running. So if at any time there's an issue with your purchase or you're having problems, you can always chat with Vast by clicking on this little chat box in the bottom right, and somebody from Vast will respond to you within an hour or two. We typically staff that 24/7. So if you ever have any problems, just click on the chat. So now that I have credits and a positive balance for my account, I can go ahead and start to get ready to rent. So I go and click on the Create tab to come back into the marketplace and see the available offers. And the first thing that I'm going to want to do is select a template. So Vast works using Docker, and you'll need a Docker image. The Docker image is what is going to be loaded onto the instance when it is created on this GPU in the marketplace. So you can click here on the Edit Image and Config, and you can go into our Recommended tab. And here's the most popular recommended images that are pre-set up for you. Some of them have a README that you can click on to open up for more information about what they do. Some of the more popular ones are a simple PyTorch image, which will load up PyTorch. If you want to use CUDA, we have a CUDA image that will load the latest Docker image, CUDA Docker image from NVIDIA. I'd highly recommend this if you're going to try to do any sort of deep learning. And you, of course, can never upgrade CUDA on a machine. You must load it via the Docker image. So if you're going to use CUDA, use that Docker image. I'll just select the PyTorch image by clicking Select. And if I double click into it, I can see some of the options, and I'll just walk you through the options. So the Docker image is it's just put right here. And this line is literally just the Docker from the Docker run command. The next line is Docker run options. So here I'm setting the Jupyter directory to the home directory, and which I'll explain later, which is helpful. But this is where also if I was going to open up additional ports, I can go ahead and do that. All ports need to be opened in this manner before the Docker image is actually created. And so you'll need, if you do want to open additional ports, you'll need to put that in here. We have several launch modes. A launch mode is essentially just software that's going to become preloaded on the instance so you can connect to it. The two major interesting ones that we have are Jupyter and SSH. SSH is pretty self-explanatory. If you select the SSH direct option, it will run SSH on the instance and open a port so that you can connect directly to that. And that's, of course, going to be a lot faster. Jupyter, we have in a similar way. Jupyter, we have a direct option, which is much faster, but will require for you to install a certification in your browser or certificate in your browser. So I will step you through that, but I'm going to go ahead and just reselect that Docker image, the PyTorch recommended image. And then also note, after you select and then you go back, you can see actually the selected template is now in my recents. And whenever I change something about a Docker image, it's actually just going to save it in my recents. And you can always go back to the recommended templates, and your recents is just sort of like where you can experiment and run your own templates. You have some blank slots at the bottom if you ever want to put in your own Docker image. It's worth noting that if you have your own a private Docker repository, that is supported, and you can also create your own image and then make it public and share it. And when you do that, you can earn referral rewards. So that's a lot, but that's basically how the instance configuration works. So I'm going to go back to the recommended tab and select PyTorch. And now I see that the PyTorch image is selected and the launch mode is going to be Jupyter. And so that is all set up. I now need to pick how much storage I want to allocate. 16 gigabytes is our default. I'm going to go ahead and up that to 80 gigabytes. And this is the amount of storage that is allocated on the instance when it's created. Once the instance is created, you cannot change how much storage is on it. So you want to make sure to think through how much storage you're going to need on that instance and allocate it prior to actually starting it. Now we get into the fun part, which is picking a GPU. So we have everything set up, and now we can look through some of the filters and find a GPU that's appropriate. So the GPU filter is going to be quite popular. You can sort through and see some of the biggest GPUs. We have A100 SMX4, A100 PCIe. We also have A6000s, A5000s, A4000s, but then we also have some from the consumer side. We have RTX 4090s and RTX 3090s. So I'll go ahead and pick an A4090 and I'll get a 2x instance. That means it has two RTX 4090s. I can actually see some of the stats. This instance, this offer has this type of motherboard, this type of processor. If you hover over this, you can see this is the effective RAM out of total system RAM. So if I rent this 2x RTX 4090, I'm going to get 64 gigabytes of system RAM out of a total of 128 or 129. So and I have 24 out of the 48 CPUs. Basically what this means is that this machine has 4 GPUs and I'm going to be renting an instance with 2 GPUs on that machine. I can see the number of ports that are open. I can see that it's verified. I can see the max duration is basically the longest time this price and rental is going to be good for. So once I rent this instance for 81 cents an hour, I can rent it for up to 3 months before it will be stopped because the host will need to take that down for maintenance. So the max duration is essentially just how long you can run it on that machine. If you need a machine for a very long time, or you need, you have a particular amount of system RAM or disk space or internet bandwidth speed that you need, you want to go to the left and look through all of our filters and just make sure you set these up appropriately so that you are seeing the types of machines that you want exactly. It's also worth noting that we do have machines in our secure cloud, which is data centers that we have vetted. These are tier 2 to 4 data centers where these machines are located that have additional security protections, physical, operational, and other types of security, which come standard with the data center offering. So if that is very important to you, then click on Secure Cloud. Those machines are often going to be more reliable. And so if that's important to you, definitely click on the Secure Cloud. And as you can see, there's no 4090s in the secure cloud because that's not a typical card that's put into a data center. But if you open this filter back up to any GPU, you can see some of these cards that are in data centers. So I'll go back to picking my 4090. Also, if I need it in a certain location, I can do that. And then if I want to sort by price or other metrics, I can do that as well. And there's quite a few different filters, so you can get very specific about the type of machine you want to rent. So once you rent a machine like I just did, it will then appear in your instances page. So I'm going to go and look at my instance, and here's the machine. It is being created right now. What is happening is the Docker image is being pulled onto this machine, and it is booting and loading. So this process can take anywhere from seconds to usually 4 or 5 minutes, but it can take several hours. It really just depends on a number of factors. The two biggest factors are going to be the size of the Docker image that you are trying to load, and then the speed of the internet connection. So as you can see, this instance actually has a very fast internet connection with 796 megabits per second down. So it's going to be able to pull a Docker image pretty quickly. But again, if you have a slow, if your machine has a pretty slow internet connection and you have picked a custom Docker image that is 40 or 50 megabytes, then this could take an hour. So it's really just going to depend, the loading time is going to depend on a couple of those factors. When the machine is loading, you are not billed for GPU time, but you are billed for storage and you are billed for internet bandwidth. So to see and understand the pricing, you're going to want to hover over this little pricing information card. That's going to break down the different charges. So there's a GPU charge, there's a charge for the storage, and then there's a charge per gigabyte of bandwidth. As you can see, this instance is now running and open, and this instance has Jupyter installed. So Jupyter is available when you select it as a launch mode in the lower right. I'll just kind of go through some of these buttons on the interface. This will open Jupyter in a new window. This is to look at logs of the instance. If I ever need to reboot the instance, I can do that with this button. If you have a lot of instances and you want to label them, you can do that here. This is our cloud storage option. So if you would like to connect to Dropbox or Backblaze or an S3 bucket, you can connect that to your account and then quickly move data between that storage option and your instance. And this is how this button will destroy the instance. This button will stop the instance. This button is for transferring data between two instances. And then this button is going to give you your SSH connection. Now, if you haven't set up SSH, you're going to need to generate a key and paste it into your account or into this box before SSH is going to work for you. And likewise, if it's your first time to get Jupyter to work, you're going to need to download and install our certificate. If you do not have the certificate installed, you will be prompted and warned on how to do that. So here's Jupyter. It's a pretty good interface for uploading and downloading. If you go into the workspace directory, this is where any files that you download will be put. And that is the basics of picking and running a GPU. I'm going to go ahead and destroy this instance and just go back and pick another machine. I also wanted to show, if you open up the template, there's also a unstart script. So this is in case you want to run commands once the instance starts up. You can type those commands in here, typical bash commands. So if you want to install something or run some sort of a secondary script that you have, or just have the instance automatically set up your development environment, you can put that into the onstart script here. We also have customized Docker templates that are in the recommended tab. I'll do some separate videos on these, but these will actually start custom open source software to do a variety of things, like to do text to image generation using Stable Diffusion, to load a large language model using Uabuga, or the Whisper ASR service, which is a way of doing podcast and video transcription very quickly and easily into multiple languages. So I'll just start up another instance. And I'll give it some time to load. And again, I can hover over and see more information about the specific machine and the specific pricing. And while that's loading, I can go into the billing tab, and here you can actually see the hourly spend rate of this account. You're also able to actually generate more detailed billing histories as PDFs by simply clicking on these little buttons, and then this button will generate the PDF and download it. And basically, that's just going to show you a detailed breakdown of all the charges if you select that, or all the payments if you select that, or both. I'm going to go back to the instances, and this one is still loading. All right, and now this instance is ready, so I can go ahead and open Jupyter on it by clicking this button. Jupyter is a good interface. It's worth it. We're getting a little familiar with it. The one nice thing about Jupyter is you can actually open up a terminal inside of Jupyter, and that's kind of useful. So without even setting up SSH or having to worry about that, I can run commands like NVIDIA SMI, which then shows me the 2 GPUs, and that instance is fully loaded. And now if I go back to the billing statement, I can see I now am being charged incompletely for the GPU as well as the storage, and a little bit for the bandwidth, which is kind of further broken down here. So and here's the sort of daily rate if I was going to keep this running for a day. I want to explain how instances can be stopped and restarted. And so when I hit stop, basically what happens is that the Docker instance will have all of its processes killed, and it will be stopped. The storage will, however, persist. So when you stop an instance like this, the storage that you allocated is all still there on the machine and will continue to be there. So when you stop an instance, and you will actually notice if you look at your billing charges, well, once it's done stopping, you can look at your billing charges and see that you're only being charged for storage. Once it's fully stopped, the machine will appear as inactive. And that just means, again, that your storage is being held with this instance, but the GPU is now free for somebody else to rent it. So it's good to understand that this GPU is now available for someone else to rent, and if they do that, then you're not going to be able to restart this instance. So I go and look at my billing, I can see that I'm still being charged about $2.88, or no, I'm still being charged 28 cents per day, and that is a charge for the storage. Now, if I go back to this instance, I can attempt to restart the instance, and what this is going to do is it's going to see if anyone is on the machine and if that GPU is available. And if the GPU is available, it is going to restart the instance and load everything back up. Oftentimes by hovering over things, you can get more information or context. And typically this takes a little while to restart the image after it's been stopped. Sometimes this actually could not restart if the GPU is not available. So when you stop an instance, again, the GPU is freed up, and if somebody else rents it, then it's going to take a little while. They're going to have to stop using the GPU until you can actually restart it. And once the instance is started back up, you'll see the open button and that its state is running. So at any time, if you want to look at the logs, you can click the log button, and it'll just do an output of the logs. This is great for noticing if there are any errors, if some of the buttons don't work, or if something seems off. You can always look at the logs and see what is happening. And again, if there's anything that looks broken or not working correctly, you can always chat with us going into the chat box. This is a secure method of talking with us, and we're going to be able to look into your account and see what's going on. So we try to do all the customer support through chat. Lastly, you're going to want to, once you're done with your work, to destroy all your instances so that you do not continue to be billed, unless, of course, you're running a long job. And so those are the sort of basics of Vast. That's how you can set up an account, buy some credits, start your first instance, and sort of understand how this works. Of course, you can always look at the documentation, which is available. And we also have a frequently asked questions, so which are linked from the homepage. Here's our FAQ. And here is our documentation. The renting section goes into kind of specific details on a lot of what I talked about. So go ahead and go there if you want to learn more. But this will conclude this video. Thanks for watching.